Hello everyone, welcome to episode number 17 of the Pregnant Hag podcast. I have a very exciting guest for you today. Her name is Sheena Cundy. She is a witch and a woman of many talents. She writes Witchlit, and we'll be talking about what that is. She reads the tarot. She writes songs for her pagan band called Morrigan's Path. You must check them out on YouTube. And another thing about Sheena is you can see her here in the treehouse today. So like all her magical activities happen in the treehouse. Being there myself, it really is a magical place. So for Sheena, her location really shines through in all her work. Like she's called dogs and she lives a dog walk away from a 7th century Saxon chapel on the beach. And it's truly spectacular. Like check out her work. There's some pictures up or look on YouTube. You know, some of the music videos are in that location. Well worth checking out. You're in for a treat. So hello, Sheena. Welcome to the podcast. How are you?
Imelda. Hello.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, that's a pleasure. I've looked forward to it. So shall we get right to it? May I throw some questions at you? Okay. So I'm going to start by holding up some of your books so people can get a visual of what you do. So here it's not her entire oeuvre, but here are some books by Sheena, and I was reading them over the summer. And if you want a really good read and have some good laughs and just like really kind of take a magical break from your own life, these are fantastic books to read. So check them out. So Sheena, my first question for you, a lot of people in my audience come more from a, shamanic practitioner kind of background, not all of them, but some. So would you tell me what is a witch?
Oh, that's a very good question. And I think to me, well, I can only speak from my own experience. Being a witch to me is living a magical life in tune with nature and the cycles and the seasons of nature, and following a calling to nature, to be connect. I mean, we're always connected to nature, but it's about reminding ourselves, and that's the life of my witchcraft, I think, really. And I follow the Celtic wheel. I celebrate the Sabbats with some very good friends, just a handful of us. We're in a coven, so we met on Monday, and we take it in turns each Sabbat to meet at a different place. So I celebrate the Sabbats, which obviously didn't happen over the last 18 months very much, but it's lovely to be with people again.
Yeah, in person, right? Yeah.
And the thing about my witchcraft is that it kind of filters into all areas of my life. As you know, Imelda, I'm a writer, so my writing is very much influenced by the magical life.
Yeah.
So and being a witch as well. I mean, I'm kind of, I suppose you could call it a professional witch, really, because I've been reading the tarot now for, all my life, professionally for about nearly 20 years. So I read the tarot professionally in the treehouse normally. I'm a Reiki healer, so that's another part of my practice, my therapy practice. I also teach horse riding, so it doesn't come under the magical per se heading, but horses are deeply magical to me. They are deeply magical animals, and they've been a part of my life all my life. Before I sort of transferred my teaching skills over to the spiritual and the magical, I've always worked with horses. So I had a sort of a 30-year vocation with horses where I travelled sort of all over the world, and I still do a little bit of teaching now. I freelance, so there's a couple of clients that I've got just in the local, you know, in the village and maybe the next town to me. So it's very much diluted now, my horsey life, but I still have that connection, which is important to me because I love animals. You know, I've got my dogs. I mean, they're in here at the moment with me. I've got three spaniels who are mad, and you know, I walk them every day. So yeah, so the magical life is very much integrated. It is my life, you know.
Yeah, so it is what you are, it's not what you do.
Yeah.
But then you spoke of a professional witch a minute ago. So my next question for you is, because I understand there have been quite big debates in various communities, at least a few decades ago. Can one self-identify as a witch? Can anyone call themselves a witch, or does one have to sort of complete a certain training or play by certain standards? I mean, like, how do you earn the right to say you're a witch, or could anyone identify as a witch?
I think there are many different paths in witchcraft. And I think, you know, there's so many different people say they're a green witch, they're a white witch, they're a purple witch, they're a this, that and the other witch. And you can, there's traditional witchcraft where you can go through the degrees. In Wicca, there is a degree system, I believe. I've never really been a part or even interested in that because I'm not very interested in hierarchical sort of things, you know, like, I mean, for example, in our coven, we're all equal, you know. If we run it past everybody in the coven. There's only 4 of us, but we haven't got a high priestess as such. No. But I understand that in Wicca there are different degrees, aren't there? There's the 1st, 2nd and 3rd degree where you do an initiation, you know, a training period, and I think that's really coven based. Yeah. I understand it as coven based, so there is like a structure, a hierarchical, but many witches are self-initiated. I mean, I'm self-initiated really, although we did have an initiation ceremony in our coven a few years ago, so we dedicated ourselves to the coven, but I've kind of did my self-initiation years ago, so I think, to answer your question, yes, anybody can call themselves a witch, you know, but it all depends what you class as being, you know, a witch, really. I mean, some people like the idea of being a witch.
Well, yeah.
I'm sure you've met your fair share of those.
Well, that's like people doing a weekend course and then setting up a website calling themselves a shaman. And, you know, I have to say I have a number of issues with that, which I will not air here in this podcast. But I mean, I think it seems to be an issue all across the line.
Yeah, and I think it's probably those kind of, you know, people that are inauthentic are normally quite transparent, really. To people like you and I, Imelda, you can tell, can't you? But I think also witchcraft to me is very native to the land, to where I'm from, you know. So I tend to lean towards the Celtic tradition because that, I feel that resonates with me. I am, you know, my father was Irish, so I've got that kind of Celtic blood, I suppose you could call it. But you know, yeah, the land is very much to me, and also I'm a member of the Obods, you know, Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids.
Yeah.
So I tend to also resonate very much with the Druid path.
Yeah.
It's very, so, which is Celtic based. So
yeah, I think that's beautiful. I mean, people will know by now that I like calling myself a forest witch, but also I've never trained in Wicca. For me, it's about the land and also about the ancestors. So it's very much about being a Norse witch in the Old Norse tradition. So I resonate with a lot of what you say. And thank you for explaining that, because it may be obvious to us, but I'm also thinking of the people who might be new to this, that they need some like introduction.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about later. So hope you're okay with me putting you through some questions. Then, of course, writing is central to your life. You were just telling me before we came on that you were up late into the full moon night finishing your most recent book. So you write, among other things, I think you're now writing a non-fiction book, but you write a lot of witchlit as well. I would like to know, I've always wondered, did you coin the term witchlit or did that exist? Because I've been telling people that Sheena Cundy came up with that, but I don't know if that's correct.
I don't know really. I mean, when I first got published with Moon Books with that first witchlit novel, we started up a Facebook group called Witchlit, and it was probably more about fiction at the time, because there was like chick lit, and I tended to think, oh, this is like a magical version of chick lit, so we'll call it witchlit. I don't know if anybody else uses that term. I think it's fairly general now. But I quite like, I quite like the term. I like it.
I like it too. I remember even asking because I wanted to join that Facebook group. But I mean, at that point, I was still very much operating under the heading shamanic practitioner. So I remember like checking in with, I think it was Laura Perry, like, is it even okay to join? Yeah, of course, you're one of us. So I'm in there. But, I even like had to sort of ask myself, like, can I actually join a group that? And also, I don't write witchlit. I write lots of things, but not witchlit. But anyway, you all let me in, and I'm really happy to be there. And that also means that other people who are on Facebook can find that group and send a joining request. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. It's for writers and readers alike. But also, we've expanded the description of the genre now to include non-fiction, so it does say that it does say that in the description. So really it's any kind of magical writing, fiction, non-fiction, poetry, music, although we don't tend to get any, apart from me. I don't think there's any other. Having said that, Laura is a musician. She's quite a dark horse, Laura, but she did put a link out the other day to a YouTube chant that she just put out, which she's got a lovely voice. So we're pretty expansive. Witchlit has now become quite a large umbrella.
So if my next book is coming out in June next year, is about the pre-Christian spirituality of the Low Countries, which is really like dredging up all the magical material. So that would now actually come under the new heading that you've created, because I'm writing about a lot of magical things, but in a non-fiction, more historical capacity. So that's interesting. I hadn't realized that you had widened that. So that's really good also for our listeners to know. Maybe you'll sort of make more people feel encouraged to actually join and see what's going on.
Oh yeah, definitely. So it's always great to have new members, and we're always very happy to help writers if they're wherever they are on their journey, and there's a lot of independently published authors in the group as well, myself included. So if anybody has got any questions or queries about self-publishing, then hopefully we can help in that department as well.
And I've seen that because people put questions, I'm stuck on this, or how does that work, or I've been offered this, are those normal terms, or like whatever it may be. And I've just observed how incredibly useful that is, that people have like a place where they can take those questions. So, but that actually, like, that's the next topic on my wish list. Can you tell me something about the difference? You just said the first book was published by Moon Books, but now I understand you very much identify as you publish your own work, an indie author, but you're also just telling me that it doesn't mean you work all alone. You still employ your own editor, someone designs the cover and so forth. So can you tell us about what's the difference between those two worlds, and like, why do you choose the indie route?
Good question. Very good question. When I first got published with Moon Books, this was about, it was 2015. So I think it was probably of the year before you got published, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. We were both fairly new authors to Moon Books, roughly at the same time. So 2015, Moon Books published me, and I was over the moon. I was delighted. It was the validation that I needed at that stage in my writing career. You know, I needed that kind of validation. I was absolutely delighted, and still have that connection of the other authors in the group, because there's you, there's Laura, there's there's Lucia Starsky, Starker, whatever her name is, and you know, I've still got Rachel Patterson, still connected to all those authors, which is great. You know, it's lovely. But I felt after about a year, 2 years of being published with, and it was nothing to do with, it wasn't, you know, no blast on new moon books, but because I felt that I was doing a lot of my own marketing. We all have to do that, you know. I think unless you're really in the big five nowadays, and you're a top 10 author in the big five, then most authors have to do their own marketing and promotion. You know, it's kind of half of the course now. So I didn't mind that, but I started sort of looking into indie authors, and went to a few conferences and took a course, and which is another big network that I've become part of, which I'm very grateful for, because they're so supportive and so helpful. And during the doing of that course, I realized that actually, you know, with all the marketing and promotion that you have to do as an author anyway, if you're self-published, you do get a far greater split of the royalties. For example, with Amazon, if you're publishing with Amazon, which I do at the moment, then you get 70% of the sales is your royalties. With a publishing house, I think most publishing houses are 25% of the sales goes to the author. So now there's a balance there. There's, you know, you have to ask yourself the question, yes, but if I'm being published, I haven't got to worry about finding a book cover artist. I haven't got to worry about my editing, because they do all that for you. They do the distribution through the shops, you know, some of the shops, not all of them. And I'm still going on Amazon. There's still an ebook coming from it as well. So there's a lot of work that a traditional publishing house will do and continue to do for the author, you know, so I'm not knocking them at all. But I was prepared. I've always published my own music, you know, myself and my husband, we've always published our own music. So it just seemed a natural, you know, direction that I wanted to go in. So I managed to get my rights back from that first book that I published with Moon Books, because there was a criteria with that. If you have less than about 50 sales, I think, within a certain period, I think it might have been a year or 18 months or something, if you have less than that amount of sales, then they will automatically give you your rights back. And I fell into that. I fell into that. So therefore it was easier for me to get my rights back. But you know, I still keep in touch with Trevor Greenfield. He's still in the Witchlit group, even though he's not really that active, but he's still in there. In fact, I had to send him a message the other week to say, could I use one of my spells from Everyday Pagan Everyday Magic or something, because I contributed to that a couple of years ago. Could I use one of my own spells in my latest book that I was writing?
Wow.
I didn't know whether you know, so anyway, he came back to me straight away and said, yeah, it's yours, you know, thank you for asking anyway. No, you don't really have to credit it because you wrote it. So I thought I needed to ask that question just in case, you know, because it's published by Moon Books.
And you don't want legal trouble down the road. It's not very clear enough, isn't it?
So I've been publishing myself ever since, and so I republished that first book, and then wrote the sequel, and then now there's 3 books, so they are now a box set on Amazon as an ebook I haven't made them into a paperback, but they're all paperbacks or ebooks singularly on Amazon. And then a couple of weeks ago, my Witchlit series came out as an audiobook.
Yeah,
so that is now an audiobook.
We have to talk about that because I'm so curious. I mean, how does that work? And are you the person reading the audiobook, or did someone else do that? Like, please tell us. This is so intriguing.
Well, it's kind of started off because in our band we used to have another singer, and she's left now, but we're still good friends with that. And she's an actress. She's a trained actress, and her husband's got a recording studios in Essex. And Kate, although she does a lot of acting work, she does quite a lot of, like, they do sort of, you know, voice recordings and stuff like that. So I said to her, would you be able to do an audio book for me? Because as much as I love sort of, I do the odd bit of, you know, reading, I wouldn't feel, I'm not a trained voice person. I'm not a trained actress, so I couldn't do the different accents, and you know, I didn't feel confident enough to do that through a whole book, through a whole 60,000 words, you know. So so Kate said, yeah, we can do it. Her husband, they'd done a couple of audio books for Amazon anyway, so they knew the technical speculations, you know, the audio requirements, because you have to adhere to those audio speculations, you know, it all gets very technical. So basically I gave them the file, the file of the Witchlit series, which was 3 books. And the reason I wanted the whole 3 books done was because I don't know if you've got an Audible subscription, Imelda. Have you?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, if you're on Audible, like most things nowadays, it's subscription based. So you pay $7.99 a month to be on Audible. All right. And you get a free credit every month. Now, audiobooks are very expensive. They're normally about between £15 and £25.
Are they? Oh, okay. That's a lot of work to create, but
but if you have a credit, you get a free credit every month. So you're only paying £7.99 if you know, in effect, for a book every month. And I only use my credits. I don't really buy any, you know, any other books. So I just use my credits. So the thing is, most people, if they're going to use a credit to get a book, you want to make sure that it's long enough. So therefore, if I only had like one of my books, that would probably take about 3 or 4 hours to dictate whatever it is, you know, to narrate. And most people, it's not commercially, it's not very viable, because most people wouldn't want to use that as one of their credits. So So I thought, well, I'll bundle all 3 together. They're a box set anyway. And that came to 17 hours in total of narration. So therefore it's worth a credit, you know. But actually I looked at my ACX is the platform that you have to go through to publish on Audible. Like KDP is the platform that you publish for Amazon, you know. So ACX, you've got a little dashboard like you have with Amazon, and I checked my dashboard yesterday, and I hadn't checked it for bearing in mind I haven't done any advertising yet. All I did was a post on Facebook and maybe Instagram saying, oh, it's out, you know, that's it, isn't it wonderful, it's out. But I thought, with self-publishing, as in most books, you know, it's a good idea to have some reviews under your belt first before you start advertising, because most people aren't really interested in a book unless they particularly know the author, and they're following the author, unless they can see a review. So I thought, I'm not going to start putting money behind this until you know, I've got some reviews. Now, because I've been, you know what it's like when you've got plate spinning, got different projects in different stages of production. Because I've just been finishing this book, this non-fiction book, I've had no headspace for anything else apart from the odd social media post, you know, which is what I do when I'm out walking the dogs, because it's easy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I just haven't had any headspace to do any proper advertising, so I haven't done. And but what I need to do, what I've discovered when I was published with the audio book, is that you get, Amazon give, or Audible give you, I think it's 25, or it might even be 50 free promotional codes. So they are free audio books. So I've got those, and what I need to do now is to send them out, or to offer them to people in return for a review. Would be very nice. And then once I've got a few reviews, then I can start putting money behind the advertising.
Okay.
But having said that, Imelda, which is what I was started off by saying, I kind of lost my thread a bit there, but having said that, I looked at my dashboard the other day, and I've actually sold 4 without any advertising. Oh, 5 actually. 5.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and they're all credits, so it's nobody's actually gone, oh, I'll pay whatever it is, 21 quid or whatever it is for this book, but I don't mind actually using one of my credits. So, you know,
it's been the credit on it.
Yeah, so yeah, so it's new territory for me, but that is my experience so far with Audible. And there are 2 general platforms that you can use. You can go ACX, which is Amazon, if you want to be all inclusive with Amazon. So you do have to sign a terms and conditions thing, and you can play with them for 7 years.
Okay.
All right. But that's fine with me. To me, it's easy. Audible then put it out on Spotify and iTunes, and that's fine. Or you can go with a platform called Findaway Voices, and I understand that they distribute a little bit more widely. You know,
yeah, right.
You're not Amazon exclusive. You are published wide then on different other platforms. So that's as much as I know. But also to do with the actual production of the audio, what I could have done with Kate, who was my narrator, is I could have gone with a 50-50 split with her, which means that she would have got half of the royalties on the book, and which would be pending. It would last for about, I think, at 7 years. I think it is. I'm not sure. But she wanted to be paid, and that was it, like a one-time payment. So which was fine. So there are options. There are options. But having said that, I think for non-fiction, I think most authors will narrate their own books, and that's certainly what I want to do with this book that I've just written. I want to narrate, because I don't know about you, but I listen to a lot of audio. I love audio, and when I'm listening to non-fiction, I like it to be the author that's
you want to hear their voice. Otherwise, it's just kind of like this one voice speaking, but through another person. It's a bit ghostly. I don't know.
Yeah, so I think that's probably what we'll do that at home, because in the book that I've just written, it's kind of multimedia. I've done 4 path workings, which are basically it's guided meditation path workings, and I've done 4 of those we've recorded them at home, myself and my husband. We got like the recording gear at home, so we've done those, and then there'll be a live link in the ebook, so that when people are reading, they get to the meditation part, and there's the text as well, but there's also a link to the MP3, and they can listen to it. Because I don't know about you, but as a teacher, we get our pet techniques that we love, don't we, that we know really help people, that really work. And I think I've been working with path working with my students for many years, and it's a great teaching technique, because basically, the the student just is nice and relaxed, they're passive, they're receptive, they're just listening to the voice.
Relaxed.
But the difference between a guided meditation and a path working is that with path working you're actually in the image. You're not visualizing it, you're not a bystander, you're not looking on, you are actually you build the image around you. So in other words, you engage all your senses. That's the difference. But I have found that path working in the courses that I've done with tarot and the workshops that I do are a great way of just introducing people to spiritual energy, in whatever way, shape or form that comes, like with I've got some oracle cards, and I do some workshops with those oracle cards, and we do a path working with badger or a path working with hare. And it's a great way of introducing people to that energy, and it's great fun as well. I love it. Sorry, I went off course there.
No, I mean, this is all like very relevant still, but also for my own work, that like once you take people on a kind of like, you hold a container for an experience, then next time they can try something on their own, but you need to take them part of the way so people know how it's done, where they can go, and then people are off generally. So I mean, so these are really good teaching techniques, and we are both teachers, so teaching is also part of what we do. But I think I want to pull it back to writing now for a moment, because like this podcast is, like writing is at the heart of what we're talking about today. So, we're both mothers, we both do other things as well. So really, what's the hardest part about writing, or like, the whole bit of your work-life balance thing you referred to it earlier? Like, what would you say is the hardest thing about writing?
I think getting started.
Okay.
Getting started and maintaining. This is going to, some people might be surprised at this, but for me, certainly over the last sort of 18 months, it's been maintaining motivation for it. And focus, Imelda, because I think in today's world, of technology and digital sort of, technology, we are bombarded, our senses are bombarded all the time.
Digital distraction.
But the thing is, I've tried everything. I've come off social media, I've tried all these different experiments. I've come off social media. I've been really disciplined about my time and my schedule. I've come into different locations, like I'll come and sit in the tree house, and or I'll go into my office but all my books are in my office. I can get distracted by anything. It doesn't matter where I am, I can be distracted. I mean, I went on a writing retreat a couple of years ago to Edinburgh, an indie author writing retreat. It was run by these American authors, and it was brilliant. It was wonderful. And I really enjoyed it. But I'd never been on a retreat before, so I didn't really know what to expect. I'd never written in a room with other people before. I was used to writing by myself. Suddenly you were in all these, I was put in the romance section, which romance. And I was with these women who all had their fingers on fire. They were writing thousands of words a day, 8,000 words a day. Some of them were writing. Well, I sat down in that room the first day, and I was like, what's she wearing? What kind of PC has she got? What's that laptop? What's she eating? And I could not concentrate at all. I got so distracted. And literally the whole week, I think I wrote about a couple of thousand words. That was it. But it was a really good learning experience. I learned a lot just by being with those people and having chats to them, but I didn't get a lot of writing done. So I would say for me, it's focus. But I think that, we just have to learn to master our minds. It's the mind more than anything, I think, because the nature of the mind is busy, isn't it? It's the monkey mind. The nature of the mind is to be distracted. So and that's where your spiritual practice of meditation comes in. you know. So I've, you know, I really do bring my magical and spiritual practices into, you know, it all connects, it all filters into my writing, because otherwise, you know, the spiritual tools that we have, I think really do help with that, you know.
I would agree.
So, but that's just one aspect. I mean, I think once I'm into a project, I'm like, I know that I've got a deadline, you know, as long as it's not too much pressure, because that will just send me off in the other direction.
Fine line. It's a fine line.
End up getting so stressed out I can't write at all.
No, yeah.
You know, I mean, luckily it's a lot easier for me now. I mean, a couple of years ago, like for example, when I went to that writing retreat in Edinburgh, it was a time when my mum was very ill. And she had dementia, and I had got 2 kids at home. I mean, they were younger then, obviously. We're only talking about 3 or 4 years ago. But my mum was, you know, it was a constant, it was full-time. I was the primary carer, and I was full-time,
too long.
you know? And so I was kind of squeezing my writing into sort of pockets of my life, which were very small. But now, I mean, unfortunately, my mum's not with me anymore. She passed away a couple of years ago. But and the boys are now very independent. You know, they both got their own jobs. They've got cars. You know, even though they both still live at home. So I'm still doing the washing and the cooking occasionally.
Oh, really? In our house, the children do the cooking, but never mind.
Oh, well, yeah, my husband's doing the cooking at the moment, the last few weeks, because I've been writing. He's great. But so literally, there's never been a better time for me for my writing as now, because I've still got my other work. I mean, my teaching and my healing that I do. But generally speaking, I have most of the day to write, so I'm very fortunate. And now that
wow, that's wonderful.
Finished this latest book, it's the main part of it's done. I mean, it's just gone to the editor for the final round of edits, so whatever editing I need to do on top of that, I hope it's not too much. I'll then just be publishing that hopefully in a month or so's time, and then on to the next book. But I'm already thinking about outlining the next book and getting on with that, because I'm very conscious. I'm very conscious of the fact that if I leave too much time, Imelda, like say, it's the first day that I've not done any writing for like months, and I'm thinking if I leave it another day, it will, it would be too easy to say, oh, I'll just have another day.
Yeah, I know. And also, like, you get out of the swing of it. I mean, I understand. I mean, I love really good routines myself.
I think you're better than me. You're much more disciplined than I am.
I'm Dutch, Sheena. I mean, comes with the territory. I mean, do I need to say more?
No, I had one Dutch friend many years ago when I worked with racehorses in Newmarket, and she was lovely. But yeah, she was very precise about things.
Yeah.
She had a certain way of doing things. I suppose she was quite disciplined. Yeah, she was. But she was great. I loved her.
Well, I think, my discipline is the kind of like, the joke of my life. It's basically, I think, a very good thing. That's why I can hold down as many things as I do. But, I've taught courses like in the US where people started calling me the Dutch policewoman and stuff, that they felt that, but look, if you have a large group of people, not only in the room, but you're the facilitator and the teacher, it's like, if I let the break time slip and I let people do absolutely whatever they want, people will come away not having received what they came for. So people fly all over the world. They fly from the US to Europe. We've had people who want to come from Australia to come and do courses with me in Sweden. So I really feel that responsibility to then deliver what I say I'm going to deliver. That requires discipline. And that also requires setting the focus. And when people start like giggling or becoming distracted, which students do all the time, they get very much into each other, into the nice weather, into the nice food they're having for lunch. And so the nice shops that are around, not in Sweden, in the forest, but here in London. So there's all sorts of ideas going on in a student's head. So it's also at some point you've got to like pull that together and say, we are now going to focus on this, and you've got to take it with you. But as I said, in its shadow manifestation, I'm the Dutch policewoman. But also many people say you inspire me by how you apply self-discipline. So it just depends on how you interpret it. I'm sure, like anything, it has a shadow manifestation and a more luminous positive manifestation.
Yeah, but I think if you're with writing, when it comes to writing, you have to be disciplined.
Yeah.
Because unless you're just a hobby writer and it's just something that you do when the muse visits you, that's fine. I started off like that, and from that point, my music, I write very inspirationally with my music. I don't sit down and think, oh, I'm going to write a song today. My music always come to me very naturally. But with the book writing, and it started out with the story writing in the same way, you know, but now that I'm writing books and I want to continue writing books and learning how to sell them and make a living out of it, then you've got to treat it like any other job. You've got to sit down, and you know, Imelda, how long it takes to write a book.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's that kind of volume of words that you are writing on a consistent basis takes a lot of time. You know,
and a lot of focus, and I mean, I've written 4 non-fiction books in 5 years, and I sometimes think, how did I do that? You know,
I don't know how you've done that. How have you done that?
I don't know.
How has she done that?
I think really, well, the way I do it, I think it's discipline. It's in the mornings. Well, at the moment, we have like 2 at uni. Oh, no, so one is left uni. It's got a graduate job. But like 1 is at uni and 1 is doing year 13, so A levels. But also like before, when they were all still at home all of the time, I'd, you know, do breakfast with them, see them all off to school, and then I would be at my desk a minute later, and I would be doing whatever I'm doing that day, be that painting or be that writing or, you know, be that teaching, whatever it is. But it's not like I make myself a cup of tea and I go sit in the garden, which maybe I think I should be doing on a beautiful morning. But it's like I have that sort of cast iron routine that at 8:30 I'm behind my desk. And if it's a writing day, I will have typed my first sentence at like 5 seconds past 8:30 in the morning. It is that rigid in my life. But the books get written and published. I mean, it does seem to be working. But then sometimes I think, oh, it was a really beautiful day, but I had decided it was going to be a writing day. So yeah, I wrote an entire chapter, but I kind of feel sad I haven't been out in the sunshine, which I really feel I should have been. You know, it's hard sometimes, that whole work-life balance, but also the balance between what do I do for pure joy and what do I do because I've agreed with myself I'm going to do it. Yeah,
I mean, I do try, and I mean, I'm very fortunate, as you know, with the environment here.
Yeah.
You know, I've got my dog walks are either end of the day. So first thing in the morning I'll walk. Although having said that, no, first thing I do is I write from 6 o'clock till 8. So I'm like you. I'm like, I get up early. I'm in my office, and that's the best time of the day to write because there's no distractions.
Oh yeah.
You know, I'm not tempted to go onto Facebook or check my emails. I just open my Word document up and I'm in it, you know, and I'm on it, and I feel so much better once I've done my writing for the day. I feel so, you know, you have that sense of accomplishment, and then I'm out with the dogs at 8 o'clock until about 9, 9:30. Then I'm back, and then it's, you know, breakfast and housework.
Housework? What's that?
So I don't do a lot of housework, but you know, there's certain things, certain standards that you like to keep up in the house. You know, nobody else clears up, so you know, mugging's here. But anyway, so there's little things like that. Then I have other teaching occasionally. You know, there's 2 or 3 lessons a week that I have to fit into my day.
Yeah.
So writing then becomes something that, you know, I can slot in, but I've been amazed at myself over the last few weeks, just how many hours I've put in every day, and also in the evenings as well. And I've quite enjoyed working in the evenings. I don't mind working in the evenings, you know, because what else do I do in the evenings? I'll sit in front. My husband, Ian, he works all day, you know, he's out at work, but he likes to watch the telly.
Yeah.
And there's some great stuff on Netflix. So we've sat down and we've, you know, got into, you know, all this sort of, it's great. But, you know, there's only so much consumerism you can put yourself through, isn't there? There's only so much consuming you can do. I'd rather be creating. But I think you do have to have that balance. Like at the moment, I know that I'm a bit tired and I probably need a couple of days just, you know, look, we're going out for a meal tonight to sort of celebrate the book being finished, you know, because I think it's important that you celebrate these little milestones.
Yeah.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
And even though it's not out yet, that second draft was
a big push is done. Yeah.
Was the hardest. I mean, honestly, Imelda, when I got that first round of edits back and the stuff that I had to do, because I've not really written a non-fiction book before.
Yeah.
You have, you're used to that. I'm not. The most non-fiction I've done was the guidebook to the Magic of Nature Oracle, and that's 15,000 words. That's nothing, you know, but it was quite structured. And let's face it, non-fiction is all about structure, isn't it? It's all about structure. So literally, when I sent that first edit, that first draft off to my editor, to Laura, it was a mess, basically. It was just a load of ideas. They were in chapters, you know, and but it came back, and honestly, the excavation that I had to do with that work, you know, like, first of all, it was like moving chapters around. So moving great chunks of it. And
I hate moving chapters, because it throws everything else I've seen.
That was mind-blowing. So then I moved chapters around, and I got used to that. Then that was done, and then you have to move paragraphs around, and then it's moving sentences around. Yeah. And you're moving words around, and then the last thing, which I'm hoping that when I get the next round of edits back, it will just be the odd comma and full stop. But I don't know. It might be more than that, you know. But I am going to get somebody to proofread it as well. But yeah, all these different stages of, and you have all these different projects going on. Yeah. I tend to, I mean, this is where your discipline is probably much better than mine. I mean, because I've been focusing on just one thing for a couple of months, I really must get back into the business side of it and start thinking about my marketing and, you know, all that kind of stuff. But it's like, I'd much rather not be doing that, to be honest.
No, I mean, I joke about, like, I need a PA or a VA or a manager, but in reality, I don't think I would enjoy that, because then it takes so much time instructing the person before they actually become useful, that in reality, I just go and do it myself really quickly. So I'm very good. I do everything very fast, type fast, speak too fast, I paint too fast. I do everything really fast.
You paint fast? You paint fast?
I do paint fast. Like, you know, I've also, like, everything else going on, like, means we're making a painting a day for, like, all of lockdown, and that's, you know, like teaching online and writing books and all that. So it's like almost become a joke, Imelda, like, what does today's painting look like? But for me, that's in the evening by 6 o'clock. Like, we do family dinner, and then unless I'm teaching this, I am, you know, well, 2 or 3 times a week, and sometimes I have American clients who need seeing in the evenings. So I don't get all of the evenings, but when I get an evening, that's for painting. And also, it's not a joke. I genuinely don't know where the on button lives. We have a TV for the children, but I honestly don't know how to switch it on. If there's a button on the thing or on a remote control, I have no idea. I just do not enter the room where that TV is. Okay. When our eldest son was born, I thought, oh, something's got to go if it's going to keep on painting. So TV watching went. I just never watched TV again. He's 21 now. I just thought, okay, like, something needs to leave my life, or I won't have time for what matters. Yeah, I don't watch TV at all.
Yeah, I was a stay-at-home mum, so I gave up work and to look after the boys at home, but I never ever got into daytime telly, never, because I always either read or I was writing songs or whatever it is, looking after the boys, you know, playing with them and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, no, telly's it's balance. I mean, I do as a writer as a fiction writer, I love watching. I think you have to fill up your creative well. You have to know what fills your well up, you know. And for me, it's reading, watching good films or series, you know, well written ones, good characters. I love that, because that all feeds the mind, that all feeds goes into our subconscious and feeds our creativity. And I think social interaction also informs our writing, you know. If I did,
Yeah, I think far more so in fiction than in non-fiction, but that's the thing. When you're more of a fiction, the thing with non-fiction is also like the preserving of your own voice. And I mean, I've only got the only fiction book I've got out is a picture book for children at the moment. So I'm not really a non-fiction writer, actually. I mean, other than this series of children's books, but like when I have been writing stories just like for my own joy, I thought this really need to be aware of like what is my voice, what's the character's voice, and if I'm reading a book at the moment or I'm listening too much to a certain person, then their voice could creep into the work. So that like work of, and that also goes like even when you write nonfiction, I keep long files of like points that other people have made, in which book it is, on which page number, do an index for all of my books. Because before you know it, you absorb something to the level where you truly think that's some kind of statement, that it's your own thought, when actually you read it in a book. So in non, yeah, seriously, in non-fiction or like when teaching, yeah, it was one of my sort of fears that I end up claiming that something was my own material and actually it's someone else's. So I kind of probably bore my student rigid by saying that, you know, this author says that in this book, or the first person to say this, you know, like I'm always trying to clear, however obscure they may be, or even something from 1,000 years ago, like Snorri Sturluson in Iceland, the poetic Edda or the prose Edda, actually. So, but you know, to always like credit those sources. So like that thing of keeping separate, like what are my original thoughts and inspirations, and what is material that I've picked up, you know, either from the forest, that is okay, but like from other people's work, you've got to be so careful to give credit where credit is due. So for me, that's another reason not to like watch TV. A, I don't have the time, but also B, I don't want so much noise in my head. I want to keep my head space free for developing my own thoughts.
Yeah, I understand that totally. And I tell you what I learned. I learned so much from writing this book that I've just written. I've just learned so much from it. It's been amazing, really. But it's been painful. It's been, you know, it's been. I found myself writing the kind of up the end of the last page of it last night, and I sort of said, I was saying to the reader, you know, this book has been a tyrant. Anybody that says, oh, the book wrote itself, you know, I'm sorry, but that writer was either deluded or they were lying. You know,
ghostwriter.
No book, yeah, no book.
Exactly. Children raise themselves. You hear some very freestyle parents say that the children raise themselves. I think something's not gone right with the parenting.
No.
I mean, I just don't buy it.
Give me a break. Do you think we were born yesterday? Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh God, you know, but that book has taught me so much. And I can remember, I mean, just to give you an example, it's about the using the elements to tune into our magical nature. So the elements with, you know, outside of us and tuning into those elements within us. Now, each element that I wrote about, and there were 2 chapters for each element I had to learn the lesson of those elements. I thought I knew enough, you know. No, the book had other ideas, let me tell you. And so when I was writing about air, I was completely overwhelmed, overloaded. I suffered from distractions galore. You know what I mean? It was like I couldn't get it together. I had so much stuff in my head, and I did not know how to get it all down. You know, that was air. I was totally, but oh my God, I learned so much about air from, you know, from the teachings of air. And then I went to fire, and by the time I got to fire, I was so, you know, burnt out.
I was going to say, were you on fire or were you burnt out?
Yeah, no, literally, I burnt out with fire. So that was the lesson of fire.
Oh.
And then by the time I got to water, I was like, I was totally drowning in emotions. So that was the lesson that I learned from water. And by the time I got to earth, you know, it was really interesting because I only wrote earth a couple of months ago. But I had a really bad back. I'm normally really healthy, and physically I'm very strong, you know, because I've worked with horses all my life, very, very physical lifestyle. And I've got a very strong body, but my back went when I was writing about earth. How about that? Totally grounded. I couldn't teach. I couldn't even take the dogs for a walk for a couple of days. you know, and I couldn't sit for very long periods of time. So my writing, I had to put that on hold for about a week. And that worried me because I thought, oh, I'm going to get behind, you know. But that was the lesson of Earth. Slow down, Sheena. You know, what are you doing? You know, get your life in balance, because if we don't balance all the elements within ourselves, then we end up wobbling, you know, we end up burning ourselves out. We end up having meltdowns with our emotions. We end up getting mental overloads, and we end up physically getting something wrong with us if we're not grounded. So the book was a tyrant, but at the same time it was my greatest teacher. And I just hope that it's gonna, you know, all you can hope is that it goes out into the world and that it will help others in some way. It will inform them, it will be of some use, hopefully inspire some people, you know. But I have loved it. I've had that kind of love-hate relationship with it, but you
know, I think that's very much part of it. But like, I think I very much feel, because what I love most in life, I think, is learning and also self-expression. These two things, learning and self-expression. And you know, my standing joke is that for me, writing books is my favorite way to homeschool myself. Like, especially with non-fiction books, I have to do so much research. I'm reading in so many languages because I'm trying to pull material from all over the place. So
I don't know how you do it. How do you do that? How do you fit all that information into your head and retain it?
Well, I have a pretty good memory, but also like from a young age, again, being Dutch, I went through the Dutch education system, and, you know, in the kind of grammar school I attended in the Netherlands. By the time I was 14, I was like learning 6 languages. Well, Dutch being one of them, Dutch plus 5.
That's amazing.
And then everything else, all the science subjects and everything else, you know, for A levels, I did all the science subjects as well. It wasn't like in a school where we only did languages. But like, once you have learned 6 languages, it becomes easier. Met a Swedish man, so then I learned Swedish, and I wanted to learn Russian and Mandarin, and on it went. And at the moment I'm learning Finnish. But probably all in all, for my research, I use, I think, 20 languages on a daily basis that I dip in and out of. Or if I get stuck, like say, if I get stuck on something in Swedish, where you think there's stuff across the border, that's why I'm learning Finnish now. There's so much interesting across the border. So if I can't resolve in any of the Scandinavian languages, then, you know, go next door, go into Russian or go into Finnish. And then quite often you've got it. Like, you know, you're looking for something, you know it's there, but you're not going to find it. Same like with Dutch. You can't find it in Dutch, you know, you try German or you try Danish or whatever, or, you know, Frisian or Old English. And then at some point, or Old Norse, and then it's like, then you've got it. And the sense of satisfaction when you hunt it down. And then you've got it, and then you can do a fresh piece of writing, because not many people have like made that connection before. And that's really great for teaching as well. You can help students arrive at new connections, or you can like clarify why something is called a certain thing, or what the etymology or the underlying thinking is, and then you can work with that. So it's just the way I operate. It's like one of my, you know, main ways of operating, and I just love it.
Wow.
And it's like, you know, if we're going to be doing something professionally, we might as well bring one thing to it where we've got like special skill or talent. I think that's ultimately how we all operate. We need to like harness, you know, those things where we've got something to bring that not everyone can do. That's where we can be making a unique contribution.
Yes, yes.
So I wouldn't know how to handle yours, but, you know, I can read in many languages.
I tell you one thing I'm looking forward to, because Ian's having a few days off starting from tomorrow. So I'm really looking forward to reading a book, and I'm going to read your books, because I bought your books. I bought your books when I interviewed you a couple of months ago, and I haven't had time to read any of them, you know, because even though I've read the first one, your shamanic...
Natural Born Shamans.
Yeah, I love that. I read that years ago when it came out. But your other 2 books, they're sitting on my bookshelf, and I'm going to treat myself and read those over the next couple of days, I think, because I love reading other authors, you know, other witchy authors stuff. It's great. But I tell you one thing that did distract me after interviewing you, after having our chat the other month, was you were talking about how you transferred your teaching online.
Yeah.
I got all inspired after talking to you, and I thought, well, that's why that, you know, that'd be a good idea for my book. It would make a good course, and because I always have had that idea that I want to do some workshops with the material after it's done, when the book's published. And I started looking into creating online courses and stuff, and then I thought, no, I can't even go there, because I'm just going to get distracted, and the book's not going to get finished, because it won't get finished if I go off on a, you know, off on a junction somewhere. I'm never going to get back on the main road and finish this book. And that's probably given me more motivation and fuel to finish it than anything is what I can do with it now I've finished it, you know.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, and that's the thing. And it's like, you know, with all I've written 4 non-fiction books up to now, and it was actually originally Lucia's suggestion. Lucia Starza, our fellow Moon Books, for the first book, she said, why don't you do chapter activities? And I thought, that's such a brilliant idea. But I've just followed through. I've done it for all my books, because I feel that when people just read a book and there's a lot of information in there, it can be kind of heavy, and people find it interesting while they read it. But then also, like, they put the book down and they pick up another book, and a lot of it is gone. You know, the average person doesn't have a particularly good memory, so what people retain is only a percentage. So what I do is I do these chapter activities where I really, like, you know, get people to practice and engage with what I've just described. And then I find this much, much better than if people contacting me saying it took them on a really deep journey and they learned something and took them to new information, whatever, within their own culture or whatever it is. So so that whole sort of thing between, you know, absorbing something from writing, but then also finding ways of putting it into practice, so it becomes
yeah, because as a teacher, you're always thinking about your students, aren't you? And how is this going to be helpful for them? Yeah, I mean, I haven't been as disciplined as you with my writing, and just listening to you talking about that, and I know in Natural Born Shamans you wrote that very much with that structure, didn't you? There were activities in every chapter at the end, and I thought that was brilliant. I have got activities in mind and techniques and crafts and things, but probably not as, it's only 40k, there's only 40,000 words, so, you know, but, you know, I think you can only get better as you write, you know, and it's talking with other teachers and you know, like you and things like that, it's inspiring, because I think, oh yeah, well, maybe I'll do more of that in my next book, you know. Yeah, but also, you know, that's like how we do inspire each other. Like, our middle son is a student of English literature and creative writing at Lancaster. So a few years ago, he made this comment. He said, Mom, why are you always writing non-fiction? It's not possible. You're using your entire creative potential. Like, why don't you write some fiction as well? And at the time, I was on my book number 3, which was a very difficult book to write. And I was just like, last thing I need is like writing fiction. But then actually last summer, and I was in Sweden, so a summer ago, 2020, I was in the forest, and there was this rock that showed itself as turning into a bear, taking children on adventures. So that's where the story of the green bear came. And I so enjoyed, it's only a children's story, I know, it's not 40k. But I so enjoyed actually like making it all up, and then still you have to fit it together because it's going to be a series. But I thought, you know, if my son hadn't so put a suggestion in my head that maybe you need to balance all that non-fiction with writing some fiction. I mean, he planted a seed there. And also, like, meeting you in the treehouse in 2016, I think it was April 2016. Yeah. And like, you know, like when your treehouse, you're talking about your process. For me, that really was like, it like kindled the flame of, you know, actually, I do want to also not only do research and academic stuff, but I want to really write some fiction as well, really, you know, give free rein to my imagination. So that's that whole process of inspiring each other. Yeah, and the fact, Imelda, that you have been able to illustrate your own book as well and do the cover, I mean, that's amazing.
That helps, yeah.
That's wonderful. Because I got my cover done for this Witch Wavelength book. I did it before I even wrote the book. I thought, no, I'm going to get the cover, and then I can print it and I can put it on in front of my desk, and that's been quite motivating. But I made sure that when I hadn't even written the, you know, got halfway through it.
Wow.
When I was recommended this particular designer, book cover designer, and she was from America. That was a brilliant experience. I really enjoyed that experience because I love imagery. I'm just not a painter or an artist in that way, you know, but I have got quite a good eye for balance in you know, and I kind of knew what sort of images I wanted. But I tell you, she was so professional, because she said to me in the first sort of couple of correspondences, she said to me, I want you to send me the links to the book covers on Amazon that are bestsellers at the moment that you like. So that was my market research, if you like. So I went onto Amazon, I looked at the bestsellers in the genre, you know, in witchcraft and all that kind of stuff, and that's how we got an image. She worked with those images. She knew exactly, because she's commercially minded, you know. You need to have that commercial mindset if you want to sell books, you know. The cover is the first thing people see, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So that was really, you know, that was an experience working with her, and I'm going to continue working with her because she's been brilliant, really.
Yeah, she's really excellent. So also, I think for the people who are listening, for our audience, if you are writing something and you're doing it all independently, there's also places where not to cut costs, like really get a good editor and get a good cover designer and get really like classy, high quality artwork for the cover. Because like if the cover doesn't look professional, no matter what's on the inside, people are not going to catch it.
No, I think if you can afford it, yes, the main priorities are cover and editing. You need to get done professionally. But with those first 3 books, Imelda, when I wrote those, I didn't have the money. I had no funds.
And
so
what would you suggest? Would you suggest that then an option people have, and I've seen that done, is that you create with other people, like I do this for you and you do that?
Yes, that's a good idea. You can do fair exchanges with other people. But a good website that I got my covers from was called Fiverr, and literally my first cover, that cover was about I think it was about £25,
right?
You know? And she's German, she's a German designer, and she's very good. In fact, she did my audiobook cover for me a few weeks ago. Because she had all the images of those covers, and I wanted to use those books, obviously, within the image for the audiobook. She did that for me, and that wasn't even 30 quid. I mean, you know, you can't complain about that, can you? Really?
You can't possibly.
So you can do it on a budget, but it was only because when my mum passed, bless her, and you know, I had a bit of inheritance money, that I've been able to invest that now into my writing, which has been, you know, a wonderful gift to have. Because I've never had any money. So it's really nice just being able to invest in myself, you know.
I think that is a very wonderful thing. And also, like, thank you for that message, because there will be people listening saying, well, you know, I literally struggle to sort of buy the food or the shoes for the children this month. And please let that stop you from writing. There's still, as Sheena said, there's still clever ways of managing things, and there's some excellent like design apps. You have Canva, for instance,
and I think the
amazing book covers on there yourself.
And I think the thing to do is get into a group of other authors, other indie authors, you know, self-publishing authors, because they will be able to help. Everybody is, not everybody, but you know, I mean, I can empathize with anyone who hasn't got hardly any financial support to, you know, the means, because I've been there. I know what it's like. But if you've got that passion for your writing and you want to get it out there, you want to share it, you know, that the ways will come to you. There will be opportunities that will, but you have to open yourself up, and you have to be in a position where you can embrace those opportunities. And the only way to do that is to be with other like-minded people.
Yeah.
You know, you've got to network. You've got to be in those, that, you know, you've got to have those to yeah.
So you know, connect with like-minded people, and also like work your magic. One, I think that's another main theme in this conversation, that like work on things in the magical realm as well as in the everyday.
Oh, absolutely, yes.
But Sheena, I think we've been talking for over an hour, and that's asking quite a lot from the listeners. So I'm going to be bringing it to a close. Tell us one more time, where can people find you? What's the best way to contact you? And would you send me the links for the things you mentioned? Could you do me an email so I can put that in the show notes under the video, so people can click on there and look?
Yeah, I think if you can just go onto my website, it's sheenacundy.com. All my social media links are on there. My books are on there. Probably the audio book might not be on there. I did ask I've got a website guy who adds things on for me, because I can't do my own website, which is daft really, because I used to do my own website years ago, but since he sort of took over and redesigned everything, it's very difficult to edit your own thing, and I don't like that at all really. But anyway, he puts it all on there, and I don't think he's put the audio book on there.
But it's coming soon, I'm sure.
I'll give you that link. That'll probably be the only other link that you'll need, is the Audible link.
Yeah,
all my other books and my cards and my music is on my website. So it's sheenacundy.com or morriganspath.com, Bandcamp. That's another one, but I'll give you that as well.
Yeah, give me like all of that, and I'll also include a link for the Facebook group in case there are like aspiring Witchlit writers out there.
Yeah, but honestly, it would be lovely to have more people in the Witchlit group. Anybody that wants to come.
Yeah, so don't be shy. You don't need to be.
Don't be shy.
There. I mean, passion for the subject is good enough. Lovely bunch of people.
Come and join us, and if you need to learn, ask questions. That's how you're going to learn. But we're all very supportive of each other, so it's always lovely to have new people in, whether you're a rider or a reader, writer or a reader. It doesn't matter. So
check it out. If that is your thing, check it out and join the community. So thank you very much, Sheena, for taking time out of your busy schedule and sitting in your tree house talking to us.
Thank
you very much, and let's keep the dialogue going. Let's talk in the future as well. Thank you so much, and goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
See you soon with another interview. That's going to be next week, actually, with Alan Sentier, the druid. So, stay tuned for that. Bye-bye.